Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting again today with Michael Porter. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, morning, Robin.
Winter's coming, but colder, isn't it?
It certainly is. Maybe a quick reach out to all our viewers in the Western Cape, and they've had some terrible weather over the last couple of days.
They're surfing on the Cape Flats.
Yeah, hopefully everybody's literally heads above water.
I hope so, yeah. So, Michael, we've seen quite a bit in the municipal space recently. I mean, I think we're tired of talking about the war, so we're going to stay a bit local. We've seen that Enoch Gondongwana came out and really lambasted Joburg officials about the state of their finances. And we know there's a big fight in the government elections there. We had a couple of mayors who rated themselves 8 out of 10, only to be getting a flea in the ear, apparently, from Cyril on the quiet. The municipal, there's a big disconnect between the quality of what's at top level and municipal, isn't there?
Yeah, so much so, definitely, Robin. We've talked about this before, and I think one of the real frustrations in this country is that, for arguments from our point of view, when we deal quite a lot with central government and maybe that kind of level of ministry and the ministry and the presidency driving reforms, you can see a lot of improvement and a lot of progress being made. But for ordinary citizens on the ground who are dealing with your local municipality, service delivery, home affairs, whatever the case is, then not much changes. And then that frustration is palpable, And so it was interesting. We did have a conversation. Yeah, well, listen, I think the public lambasting at Joburg and basically saying Joburg was insolvent, and it's also got implications for obviously the credit rating of Joburg, the bonds that Joburg has issued in the debt market. I know that some of those have been suspended. Willie would have a better comment on exactly what the situation is. Not that we have any exposure to sort of Johannesburg debt, but yeah, it does sort of those kind of things ripple through the bond market a little bit, it's not great, but I think it's a positive sign that the finance minister's really coming out in public and talking about these things. So when we were engaging with Operation Vulindlela a couple of weeks ago, I suppose phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela is dealing more with trying to deal with municipal reforms, Yes. But Rudi Dicks was just highlighting the challenges. I mean, the constitution and the structure was drafted that municipalities had some independence. They had independence to sort of raise revenue, collect rates, electricity, water, and those kind of things. And now that you're having central government trying to push back and say, listen, you guys need to get your house in order, actually the legal framework is quite difficult in that. It's so I mean, just this week Eskom did announce, I think, agreements with 18 or 19 municipalities to take over some of their distribution, or as a way of trying to manage that and get paid and bring Eskom's debt under control, which I think is a positive first step. But yeah, the actual, you've got to deal with all these municipal acts and finance acts and things like that. And the regulations are pretty clear, but I think sometimes from central government, one of the only real bargaining chips they really have is to withhold that equitable share, the portion that goes to municipalities. Then you withhold that, and then service delivery gets even worse. Because then they've got no money to do everything. And funnily enough, Chris Pappas, our own mayor here in Howick, he put out a WhatsApp this morning just commenting on the transmission of high petrol prices through to municipal delivery, and just saying, municipalities are big fuel users. I mean, you're fixing roads, you collecting rubbish, you doing whatever municipality is doing, all those services, and fuel costs are a big portion of their bill. So fuel prices rise, and yeah, it impacts the bottom line straight away, as it does for everybody. But maybe I think the point he was trying to make was that there's less capacity to absorb those fuel price increases when you're on a very fixed budget, very fixed revenue base, that kind of thing, than there is. So as soon as you have to then pay more for fuel, you have to start cutting somewhere else almost immediately, because your revenue's not changing. You can't go out and get sell more products or whatever the case is. So he was just commenting on the headlines and thinking, well, does it affect me? But yes, it does affect you. And it comes through pretty quickly.
And I mean, Michael, ultimately, no matter what reforms we see at the top level, almost everybody operates inside a municipality on the ground, don't they? You know what I mean? So even if you're making a product and then putting it on a Transnet, which is getting better, you've still got the municipality that's got to give you the water and the electricity and everything from there.
Yeah, I think one of the best examples in the last couple of years is Astral Foods, the big chicken producers, and they have big operations up in Standerton, Ermelo, that kind of area, and they have just been grappling with water and electricity issues and the unreliability of supply and what that does to their cost of production and even keeping the chickens alive, as a very basic sort of need. I mean, to look after the health of the animals, and they've been putting in their own water, their own electricity and everything like that, and having to absolutely self-provide, and then running up against massive hurdles when they're trying to self-provide and keep jobs and everything like that. And I think if you talk to big business, that's probably one of the biggest frustrations they have, is that they can self-provide and then they're not allowed to self-provide or whatever the case is, and they run into all these issues. So it's a very complicated area. I think what's encouraging, and again, it's going to take time, Robin, but I think what's encouraging is that at an Operation Vulindlela level, municipal reform has come right to the front of the agenda, And so it's not as if government is unaware. I think government is so well aware that cadre deployment, basically, people that are in the space that aren't qualified to be there is really coming home to roost. And obviously government elections have now been set for the 4th of November. So that's not very far away. That's 6 months away, less than 6 months away now today, And a lot of things have got to change for the ANC to really prove that they can govern at a local government level. So it'll be an interesting period leading up to that. But I do think that, whether things change in the next 6 months, but I think at central government level there is a lot of pressure building and there's a lot of attention on the problem. Whether that changes immediately, I think we can all be a little bit skeptical. But I think at least, even as we've seen with electricity and with rail, you've got to start somewhere, and the reforms might not become apparent by the end of this year or into next year, but at some point these reforms do come through. But if you don't start the process, then you never get to the finish line either, So we're encouraged that the process is starting, but even Rudi Dicks acknowledged in our meeting with him that it's a complicated sector, and there's a lot of toing, and there's a lot of things to get past. Municipal officials are elected. You can't just ride roughshod over that, and there's quite a lot of layers. I mean, if central government just had their way, they'd just bulldoze in, but they almost don't have that, So it's a complicated sector.
Yeah, I was quite amused in that engagement with Rudi Dicks when he said that, we were arriving at a municipality, the house is on fire. We tell them we've got a hose pipe and they go, no thanks, we're quite happy with our buckets. So, I mean, it is the people that you've got to get over. Well, Michael, I mean, obviously I think the exciting thing is we do have elections, and possibly a lot more people are going to vote based on their light switch or their tap.
Sorry, Robin, just to sort of interject, UK had local government elections yesterday. It looks like, the results aren't absolutely finalised yet, but it looks like Labour lost hands over fist. And it'll be interesting to see in the UK whether actually Keir Starmer still has a job by the end of the weekend or in the next week or two, because I'm sure there's going to be a leadership challenge in the Labour Party. And it just goes to show that in some ways the pressure does build, and then eventually it does show at the polls and things like that. It's certainly showing elsewhere in the world, and I don't think sometimes it's going to be very different here.
It'll be interesting. I think there's even some question marks over Cape Town, but we'll watch that space fairly closely. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.